But there were others a good deal more aggressive even than Aziza's father. Shazna, a Sri Lankan preschool owner who converted to Islam at the age of 17, tried unsuccessfully to hide the bitterness in her with a laugh.
When I embraced Islam and I started to recite the Quran in my room, at my home. So my dad said it and he got angry. Once he kicked me and started to scold me. And once he said, if you are a Muslim, this is a Roman Catholic family, if you want to be a Muslim continuously, you go out. At that time, I think the time is midnight, 3 o'clock. My father kicked me out. I miss my friends. I had a lot of friends in my school time, so I miss my friends. When I embraced Islam, they didn't talk with me, so I love to talk with them.
But not all non-Muslim parents were hostile. Priscilla, an Indonesian convert who converted from Christianity to Islam after hearing the call to prayer in Indonesia and searching for its meanings on the internet. She told us about her family's reaction.
I was glad because my father said, okay, whatever you choose, I'm glad for you. If you feel better with it, then you have to do that, but do it the right way. So I was so glad because I knew another sister, she had problems with her parents, but my parents were very supportive.
Priscilla's case was too good to be true, so I asked Amber the same question. Amber is a school teacher from Connecticut in the United States who became Muslim after 9/11 while working in New York.
My family accepted me after I converted to Islam. They saw that it made me happy. They saw that it was something that was improving me, not the opposite. They did have some reservations, of course, as anyone would, because they were afraid. They knew a lot of stereotypes from the media about Islam, and they thought this might be something that would happen to me, that I would, not socialize with people that I used to know, that I might dress differently, totally different than them, that things would be totally different. When they realized it wasn't, then they were able to accept me. After I wore hijab, it was again difficult for them because it set me apart. But then it was a process. It took time for them to again realize that it wasn't something that would set me apart. It was just something that was part of my religious and spiritual journey.
One of the most interesting people I met was Elizabeth, a German girl who came to work in a hotel in Hurghada, an Egyptian resort on the Red Sea, 5 years ago. She worked in the beach and pool animation team. I visited her in her own after-school project where she told me her story.
There was this one day that changed my life, actually. I went with a group of tourists into the bazaar area, and there was a man, it was Friday, and the man closed his shop just in front of us. And he said that he's going now to the Friday prayer. And I was telling him that I have a group of people with me who wants to spend all their money because they're traveling tomorrow. And how stupid he would be now to close his shop and not to take this money and just, I know that his prices are too high and he will make a hell of money. So how come you just close your shop now? He told me, no, I'm a Muslim. It's my duty to pray on Friday. And it made me really think, because when it comes to money, we are all weak. And when it comes to important things in life, I think we all have our family, the first important, and then almost after that, it's money. So I know that this man is living from that, and how come he prefers to pray, and I called it kissing his carpet, than taking our money? And that I was thinking a lot about that. I was just completely lost. Everything I used to believe in was changing. I was really asking basic questions about me, my life, my family, what I want in my life, why I'm here. it was time to actually open the Quran and read the Quran. And I was washing for half an hour before I opened the first time the Quran. I don't know why. I read in the other book about the Prophet's life that you have to wash before you read the Quran. And I kept on washing, and I had a shower. And I washed again my hands. And I was really scared to touch this book because I felt I have to respect the other religion. I don't want to be disrespecting to them. And I just opened it and I started to read in Surah Al-Baqarah. I just finished it to the half and I converted to Islam. But I said at the same time, there are so much rules and so much things that will change now. I'm not ready for that. And I was really scared from such a big step. What will my family say? How will I work in such place and being a Muslim? How do I change my hobbies? Like I loved my freedom life, and I used to depend on myself since I'm 16. I moved out when I was 16 and lived by myself, and there was nobody who had to tell me what to do. I know that I can manage by myself everything, and now all of a sudden I have to admit that there's somebody much higher who knows what's right for me. So to just admit that, it's a big step for my pride. And it made me very scared. And I always just thought about the hijab. What will happen if I wear hijab?
Then out of the blue, Elizabeth told me that she had also been a model, advertising Brazilian swimsuits, and spoke about how advertisers treated her as an object.
I was a model when I was 15. I wasn't very professional, but you saw me in some cover shoots or in some catwalk shows. I was presenting once the beachwear of Brazilian beachwear. And I remember this day that they told me, oh, you got on some weight. We cannot use you for the next shooting. And I just felt ashamed. I felt, what's the right to speak about my body like that? I'm a personality. I'm just not a product. And I feel that even in the commercials and everywhere, they say sex sells. And they use actually this as an instrument just to sell their product. I don't want to be used as an object. And before I was even veiled, I just covered up my body because I felt the eyes of men. I felt they eat me because I felt I was pretty, and they're really eating me when I'm wearing the bikini at the beach. And I wanted to wear long sleeve. And I started to go even in the pool wearing a t-shirt because I really felt ashamed of how they look at me and just feel, wow, oh la la, like, who's that girl? I don't want to be in any eyes of any man, just like, that he's saying something like that and that I'm an object to them, so.
Sex sells. It was not only Elizabeth who felt the hungry eyes of men eating her body. Priscilla felt the same and tried to explain about her need for more respect from men.
And also at my work, because I work in a restaurant and hotel, and sometimes men are looking at me, but I don't feel comfortable at all. And I started to change my style of clothes, to wear a scarf to cover this area. So that was a step closer to hijab, so I did it step by step. In the past, men looked at me like I was an object. And I didn't want them to look at me like I was a piece of meat. But that they respect me more.
Feminists worldwide struggle hard against the objectification of women. Their studies have found that audiences in the West are exposed to over 2,000 ads a day. On TV, in newspapers, on street billboards, all over the place. Ads sell more than just products. They sell values and images of success. They tell us how to be popular, loved, and attractive. They tell us who we should be. The sex object in advertising is a mannequin. Conventional beauty is her only attribute. She is thin, tall, young, long-legged. Most women don't look like that, but they are constantly trying hard to emulate it so as to be loved and desired. The more a woman looks like an advertising star, the more she is accepted in society. Ads like these reduce women to objects, and their sexual content is pornographic. This negatively affects the image of a woman. A few years ago, the research of Susan Fiske, professor of psychology at Princeton University, was all over the news. She proved that when men view images of highly sexualized women, the brain areas associated with handling mechanical tools light up. The media does not only shape people's perceptions of women, but also of Islam. Professor Rasha El-Dessouki, a Muslim scholar in Al-Azhar University in Cairo and an activist for more than 30 years in the United States, spoke about the media's political agenda.
Unfortunately, Islam has suffered from bad media all over the world. I have studied about 58 novels that speak about Islam and Muslims, and it does give a very bad image of Islam. The reason is all these political events that happen around the world are connected to the media. Whenever there is a very hot issue, whenever there is a fight over something, whenever there is a new revolution, you find that the media intensifies against the Muslims. And all the old images that we have seen by Orientalists in the 16th century, things that have to do with the Crusades, things that have to do with wars between Muslims and non-Muslims, they bring all these up again, conjure them up in the memory of the viewer in order to bash Islam and make it look bad. So what we advise is that people seek the sources of Islam and talk to Muslim people and not think that the media is the only source about Islam and Muslims.
Dr. Leila Ahmed, a professor in the Divinity School at Harvard University, met with us and also spoke about the media.
The idea that Islam oppresses women became just a normal view expressed in the media and so on, even though there was no ground to it. Historically, there's no evidence for this. It was just a prejudice that was being repeated by the media. And many Muslim women felt offended by this, and they wanted to make clear to whoever they were speaking with or wherever they were out in the streets that they were Muslim and they stood by it and did not accept the prejudices.
It always disappoints me when I watch the media and I see more falsity than truth about Islam. There's many experts about Islam, but they're not always Muslims themselves. They're people who get information from places that seems to be something other than what most Muslims understand. And I always find that the media will latch on to anything bad someone that happens to be Muslim does. While there are so many millions of Muslims out in the world that are doing great things, great projects, great initiatives, but they're never mentioned.
After 9/11, there was a time when I honestly hardly could bear to turn on the television, because this was when we were going to war, of course, immediately after 9/11, we were going to war with Afghanistan. And there was endless shots of women in burqa, suffering, how we had to go and rescue them. And this somehow, this was Islamic oppression of women. The burqa was sign of that. And by extension, any kind of head covering was seen as Islamic oppression. And that became the prevailing narrative in America for a few months. It was really quite distressing. So it was very much a media issue and a political issue, but it was presented as women's oppression in Islam, and therefore Islam was just terribly oppressive. And that extended, and that was partly why I'm sure women were attacked. Young American women wearing hijab suffered the consequences of this media representation.
A lot of people were getting information from the media that wasn't correct about Islam. What I was able to do, and this was a positive thing, was be able to pass on information that was the truth about Islam. People who were wondering about it, people who didn't know anything about it, when they found out I was Muslim, they would ask me questions, and I was able to tell them what a great thing Islam is, what it meant to me, how it inspired me. And this was a positive thing that I was able to find after I converted. Even though initially I was very scared, I was afraid people would sort of turn away from me and not listen to me. But I actually found there's many people that are open to hearing what you have to say. They're actually curious. They just don't have anyone to ask.
In Belgium, I received information that we could meet a non-Muslim by the name of Harmony, whose brother converted to Islam 8 years ago. When it happened, Harmony said to herself, if my brother can become a Muslim, what the media say about Islam can't be true. so she enrolled at the University of Leuven to learn more about the religion. This is what she had to say.
Islamophobes hurt the Islam in a way, but on the other side they make publicity because of their bad behavior and their hurtful sayings. People will start to investigate by themselves, so they will go and look about the Islam. And so actually Islamophobes make publicity. Maybe it's not intentional, but they do it. But yeah, they hurt some people in a way.
People had a lot of questions, and so they actually started to research Islam. They wanted to know more about it. So even though the media was portraying a negative image, people wanted to know if it was true or not. So a lot of people did go out and find the real answers. And so in an ironic way, it was a good publicity for Islam, even though what the media was portraying was bad.
The number of converts increased significantly after 9/11. At the mosque I used to go to in North Virginia, I used to witness 1 to 2 people declaring their faith every week before 9/11. But the month after, I witnessed a case of conversion every day, and some days 2 or more. This wasn't because of 9/11, of course, but rather because of the demonization of Muslims in the media and the continuous defamation of Islam by Islamophobes, which made many people more curious to learn about it. A personal question.
Yes.
Do you think one day you may become Muslim or Christian or stay as an atheist? Just what do you think?
In my opinion, I think that I would probably convert to Islam. But I know it's going to be very hard because people here in Europe don't have a good image of Islam. Certainly if a Belgian person converts itself. But I think that Islam is one of the most beautiful beliefs, and I really believe that what is written down, it is the truth. So yes, I think I may one day convert to Islam.
Next door to Belgium, we met Pauline, a Dutch pediatrician who spoke to us what made her embrace Islam.
When I was 21 years old, I was in the middle of my medical studies. It came to my attention that when I watched the news and it talked about Islam or Muslims, that all of the news, or predominantly all of the news, is negative. Especially when it comes to women, it's always very negative. Something about women not being able to go to school in Afghanistan, about women getting acid thrown in their faces in Pakistan, a lot of bad things. And also in the climate that what was going on at that time in Western Europe where I lived, it was very anti-Islamic to my feeling. And I just followed the media and just believed everything they said, and I had a very negative idea about Islam.